Call the names. Wake the room. Wake the room. Wake the room! Rex, Pam Ray, Naomi, Afasiana, Babbler, Monarch Soul, Jojo, Grey Eyes, fill my eyes. Poets assemble. No masks, no manners. Say it plain, or say it broken. Monday night in the garden of enlightenment. Low light lit minds, every line got intent. Clock ticks crooked and the room turns vigilant. Quiet so loud you can hear what the tension meant. Then it slips after midnight, manners get murdered. Nice little masks get cracked by a word or a murmur. Twisted Tuesdays twist truth till it turns on its heel. Clean cut faces go strange when the dark gets real. You can feel that shift, that slick little slip when the grin stays sweet, but the eyes don't sit. Like the room grew ribs, like the walls grew ears, like the hush got hands and it's pulling you near. And the words don't rest, they press. Put a heel on the chest, leave a dent in the breath. Every line like a knock from the back of the brain. Like you came in one shape, you won't leave the same. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown and the soft don't dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whisper in your ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Say it plain, say it broken. Late night poets, Wednesday breaks, parts in the park, sink down the spine, half halo, half hazard, both hands in the light in the yard. A seduction walks soft through the smoke, silk on the tongue with the blade in the joke. Books and bards wakes dust in the depth of the shelves. Old ghosts lean out and start naming themselves in a craft and sullen. Not the ache, gets a voice, pain stands up straight and makes silence a choice. Then break on through when the devil gives way, when the masses sink but the pulse says pray. Echoes in the dark, oh hun, the fear, that thing with no name starts ringing in your ear. Say it, say it. Fill my eyes with poetry, don't water it down. Let it bite, let it bloom, let it burn through the crowd. Bad company grins like a bruise, dressed smart. And rhythm and rhyme puts a boot through the heart. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown and the soft don't dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whisper in the ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Say it plain, say it broken. Late night poets, some come shattered, some come slick. Some speak honey with a blade in it. Some sound velvet, some sound wire. Some walk in low and take the room higher. Some come holy, some come liars. That's the thing! This ain't filler for the dead space, no. There's a pulse with a pen, this is blood with a nickel. This is breath to the backbone, ink for the crown. Live mics, live nerves, truth laid bare in the round. This is the beautiful mess, the bruise and the bloom. The line that cuts clean and makes a little room. Late souls, wide eyes, all nerve in the dark. A room full of hearts beating hard through the dark. Wake the room, wake the room. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown and the soft don't dim. late night poets. When the clock slips past polite, we tell the truth. L&P, we love you. Stay frosty.
Hello and welcome to Break On Through. Here you can travel realms uncharted, blur the lines, break the chains, open yourself to possibilities waiting to be discovered on the other side. I am Pam Ray, and co-hosting with me tonight is Robbie's Poetry. Robbie and I are poets on a website called All Poetry with a group of poets called Late Night Poets. If you find that tonight's show is not your cup of tea, please check out our other shows. We have 1 to 2 shows per night on a variety of styles of topics and poetry, something to suit everybody's taste. Also, make sure when you get a chance to check out poetry anthologies put out by Late Night Poets, because when you purchase those, you not only get amazing poetry, you help support these radio shows. And hello, Robbie. How's it going?
Oh, not too bad. I didn't realize it was pouring buckets till that's never happened to me before. I've never had that. It's never rained that strongly, and I was not aware of it. I was like just casually going out to take out my garbage, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, I have had that happen before. It must have, I swear it's usually when my mind is like in a totally different place. I don't know, maybe yours was.
Oh yeah, tidying all
you
day.
know, and and if I had rain today, I probably wouldn't have heard it because, well, we actually did, and I didn't hear it because I was napping very deeply. Yeah, well, hopefully rain is something you needed, and always good for the trees and nature and all that, but not good for being able to get out and go for walks.
No. Well,
or bike
we
rides.
just had the fire zones, the fire restrictions lifted, and I think this little bit of extra rain will help with that too. So it's only now that's been lifted and people can have fires again. So I don't mind one day of rain for that, because it's been terrible for how dry it's been. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that probably will help. So that's good. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. And well, thank you so much for being able to join me tonight.
Oh, you bet. It was a slow day. It's just I've been bound in my house today anyway. So I mean, I'm not going anywhere. So.
Oh, I get that. I did get out today. Not to do a whole lot, just go to a doctor's appointment, run a little bit of errands. And just but not too many. And read a little bit of poetry, did some napping. Nothing too exciting. It kind of was just a very laid back day. My son wanted to watch a movie, and I was in for that. And then I mentioned the movie Flatliners, and I'm not quite sure if that was up to his taste, because about like less than halfway through, he's like, "I'm going to my room now," and I'm like, "Okay." And I went to my room too, honestly, because you know how sometimes when you think, I think I remember that being a good movie, and it was a good movie. But I also found that watching it years later, there were little things to nitpick about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Event Horizon has a reputation for that. It's one of those movies that seems to be notorious for people remembering it as being better than it was, which isn't encouraging for me because I want to watch it again. But Lawrence Fishburne had the most sensible line of any horror movie, because he hears all these screams of agony and everything in recording, and then he just goes, and the tone of his voice too, the way he delivered it, he just goes, "We're leaving."
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah.
That
Oh,
doesn't
yeah, I
usually happen
totally
in a
get
horror
that.
movie. Usually they're
But
like,
yeah, honestly, I just watch what I want. Like if I'm by myself, I watch. Yeah, I don't care what other people say. If I'm in the mood for Little House on the Prairie, that's what I watch. If I'm in the mood
yeah,
to binge watch, a 1980s movie or whatever, that's what I do. But
mhm,
when you're watching a movie together, you want to find something that both people like.
yeah,
Last
yeah.
time we watched The Glass House, which,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I don't know, or The Glass Castle, sorry, The Glass Castle. I don't know if you've ever heard of the book and the movie. They are
Vaguely, I
both,
think.
well, the movie is based after the book.
Mhm.
And while, like the usual, the book is better,
Yeah.
it's actually one of the best movies off of a book I've ever seen. The only thing is it just it's a trigger warning book, and it's a
Oh,
trigger
okay. Yeah.
warning movie. You just, oh my gosh, I had such an emotional reaction to both of them.
Mhm.
But
I binged on the comic. Well, I was telling you about earlier today. I ended up binging on that the comic. Or I was telling somebody about that. I don't think I was telling you about that, but the comic motion videos where they have a comic book. They show the panels, but then they have narration from different narrators, or in different like a narrator in different voices, and they have music or not music as much as sometimes music, but a lot of sound effects. So there's a kind of interesting cross of genres. I watched a Daredevil graphic novel in that form today that I read before. It was really good.
oh, that's really cool. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I finally finished listening to the Odyssey like yesterday. So
Hmm.
a little late to write. Or no, it was actually this morning. I finished listening to it this morning. So that feels like an accomplishment. I know it would have been more of an accomplishment if I could have read it, but
Yeah.
still.
Next best thing. Yeah.
Um, Next best thing, exactly. But yeah, so I don't see any listeners so far. But hopefully we'll have some later, and maybe we'll have, if nothing else, we'll have people listening to the recorded show. Um, so, to anybody who, listens to the recorded show, we greatly appreciate you. All right. So for tonight's show, we have carryovers um, from the contest with the artwork of Kurt Schwitters.
Mhm.
And yeah, that is a crazy name. That is
Oh, I know
that is
one name that of a jazz pianist, but it's a little too racy. It's a real name, but it's a little too racy for especially since it was a Wednesday night program. I'll message you or email you it.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Right. I yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that. I've seen some crazy names. And also, then after we're done with those carryovers, we'll go into poetry inspired by Hedda Stern. When we get through the carryovers, I'll talk a little bit about Hedda Stern and her artwork, but I don't want to do that ahead of time. So we'll go ahead and get the ball rolling. And the first poem I'm putting up is Picking Up the Pieces that make us new by Orange Sage. And Robbie, go ahead and give that a read for us, please.
Okay. I'll just get over to there, and I sent you the name. Have fun. I just get to, yeah, I just get to the poem here. I want to read Lady of Letters later on, so I got that tab open there, so I can read them after the show. Okay. Oh, I was blocking my mic a little bit there. Sorry, I was blocking the receiver of it. Picking up the pieces that make us new. A white face leans against the shadow's walls, The unassembled room waits breathless. Another face partakes of cheese and rye, grapes one by one, sucking in, tasting the room. Concepts nourish the room. Light feeds the room. The window keeps leafless limbs collaging with clouds out of the room. The table waits with its riot of knickknacks. The white face in its bare state waits too. The other face, sipping sweet liquid, takes a notion and arranges it around more notions. Dated cotton reel, scraps of fishnet. The table knows all their names until the pieces find their places. The white face isn't white anymore, and all that's gone has come again. End
Great
poem.
read, Robbie. I thought this was a strong write by Orange Sage. I really liked the imagery in it, and I thought when I first read it, I thought of the idea of organized chaos that makes up the bits and pieces of life, but I also feel like this speaks on the idea of transition. Like, I do feel like this is a right that focuses on life and the happenings around it. And but I also see, like I said, the idea of transition. I absolutely adore the table waits with its riot of knickknacks. I used to be a big knickknack collector, but that kind of went to the wayside. And so to me, that's just the most fabulous line, because I've also seen people who were like, I was fairly organized with mine, but I've seen people like that's their whole house, nothing but knickknacks. So a riot of knickknacks is just fabulous to me. I also thought that the repetition of gosh. Well, I don't know if there's exact repetition. Maybe I'm thinking wrong, but it felt like there's almost the concept, if nothing else, of repetition. Like the mention of the faces, the white face, the other face, and then it says the white face isn't white anymore, and all that's called gone has come again. I like that end line because to me, that speaks on the idea of the cycles of life, and the idea of, like they say it a lot for fashion, like everything old is new again, but I think you can look at that with other concepts too. But I will say that Orange Sage really brings this room to vibrant life, and in doing so shows us all the little pieces, all the little knickknacks, the thoughts, and the experiences that we collect over our lifetime really shapes who we are. So excellent, right, and very well done.
Yeah, I got that sense too that it was like an overlay or an overlook of kind of a general survey of the knickknacks and that. And the funny thing is, it's like in terms of how it just came off aesthetically, it was like a curious in between for me of stream of consciousness, but more structured. It was almost like structured form stream of consciousness, because it's like you're surveying the room, and it almost sounded like in a more casual way, but you're organizational wise, like that part of it, you're focusing, or you're really paying attention to what's in the room. So I thought that was a kind of a curious, almost paradox. And knickknacks are an interesting thing because, like you said, what's old is new again, and some things kind of ebb and flow in terms of popularity, never quite disappear. Because, like I'd mentioned, the lava lamps before, and it's one of those things that it does seem that it never quite completely disappears. Like you'll see, like a few stores that sells them. You never see just a complete absence, right? And I'm
Right.
always have a curiosity about items that are like that. And I kind of think of crafts and craft fairs too, and how that's like a very collectible thing. And I imagine that craft items often find their way into knickknack collections because they're very collectible things. They're meant to be collected, right? So I think that's an interesting. It'd be interesting to have a poem that had a crossover of those two things. But yeah, it reminded me a little bit of that, and I just saw now how the painting reflects that because it's like a composition of all these different items to give to
Yes,
give like a form.
that actually is a great observation. That was something I forgot to mention, so I'm glad you said something because, yeah, Kurt Schwitters did a lot of collage art, so her poem definitely connects well with that idea. And well, I hope I didn't. Did you have anything else to say? Because I feel like I might have enthusiastically interrupted.
No, that's all I had to
Okay.
say. That's fine.
I'm just making sure. You know how it is when you get excited about responding to an idea and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
wait, did I interrupt?
Well, sometimes I worry. Like I thought I talked over you at 1 or 2 points today already, so I was self-conscious of that myself.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, all good. All right. So I'm going to put up the next poem. Oh, and I see our YouTube listener numbers have gone up. I see 2. So, good to hello, YouTube listeners. Glad to have you listening in. All right. So, up next, we have The Art of Playing with Joy by Way Down Upon Joy. And she was inspired by the Kurt Schwitters quote, "A game played with serious problems. That's what art is." If contradictions fiction shares hide and seek with facts, a writer's self-conviction must decide why truth attracts. If art presents the present with what's hidden in the past, each line becomes a mind event and game that's unsurpassed. This poet paints with problems, and the art is mixed with muse. The painted part speaks volumes, while the rest may just confuse. If the form of formal fixture shares with fantasy of mind, the art becomes a mixture where some sad shares joy resigned. End poem.
Sorry, it took a couple of moments for me to get to my mute button. That damn mute button. The structure was nice. It was like tight, but not. That's the thing. It when you do like a very structured rhyme forms, it can be tricky to do it without sounding pedantic or constrained by it. Like you still want it to flow, and especially when it's like this, like very tight A B. Although that saying that, I think that form does um, play with the prompt subject very well. It suits it, and I like the title in and of itself, "The Art of Playing with Joy." There is like an art to it, because that's the thing. It's like you want to be, you don't want to be super serious all the time, but you don't want to be as silly, as your default, like where you're not being, taken seriously in that. And sometimes when I see when people can't go through a conversation without making a joke, I feel like they're compensating for something, or like something's bothering them. Because I remember like Robin Williams, I noticed that he had his tragic end, and I noticed that after a while with him, like he was just like all over the place, and he couldn't, go through a conversation without making a joke at the end. A little bit of a segue there, but uh, I think of this makes me think of all the ways you can play with joy. You can play with in terms of art. You can make things more joyful that would be otherwise a little bit more pedantic by putting a little twist on it. And yeah, this is one of those poems that I think when you look at it, it can lead you to think of other things outside of it that aren't directly related to it, but kind of, fairly related to it. I like poems like that that make you think of kind of like the side ideas that are connected to the main idea. Um, and I like that, like the poet paints with problems. That's a nice one. Um, it's interesting when you phrase something that way. Like I have a deck called the Lenormand deck, and it has all these pictures, but the pictures, it's not like tarot. Like you can't have a single picture or a single card in that. You have to have more, because the way the whole thing is structured is it's how the cards are in relation to each other. And it's an interesting neurolinguistic sort of game if you want to play it, if you don't want to like use it for fortune telling, but like kind of want to create a story out of all these objects and how they relate to each other. And that could be like a good poetic thing for somebody to do, actually, especially that deck, or is to take all those cards, spread them out, and kind of like, and see what kind of story they can form out of it, out of all the relations with the cards.
Oh yeah, that would be good. That could be potentially a good poetic inspiration. Great comment, Robbie. Yeah, this definitely has a great rhyme and flow. I have to say, it gives me a great big smile that Joy plays with her own name, even from the beginning in the title, The Art of Playing with Joy. And I think that is quite clever and fun. um I like how this speaks on, to me, the different sides of art created, whether it's poetry or other forms of art. And that is, on one hand, you can take it seriously, but don't put yourself in that mindset where you never have fun. And the other thing is, just learn to relax and trust the muse, which to me, the muse is simply your instinct. Like, just take a deep breath, step back, and really just observe, or even just walk away for a little bit, go do something that helps you unwind. To me, like, sometimes when I'm just listening to music, or even doing something like cleaning, like laundry or dishes, all of a sudden the next line, or a line that just didn't quite feel right, suddenly appears or transforms. And I I don't know. I thought there were great lines throughout in this. I also thought that it worked on the idea of a balanced perspective in life and art, between being contemplative and being joyful. But there are just so many great lines. But I especially liked the this poet paints with problems, which was great alliteration with the letter P, and the art is mixed with muse. The painted part speaks volumes, while the rest may just confuse. Wonderful lines, and very well done.
Well, Sheldon from Big
And
Bang Theory had done that. He took a he said to he said to I almost said he said to Pam. No, he said to Peggy, that, well, I want to free my mind and not think too much. So I took this job because it's pedantic and everything. And that's how genius comes sometimes. And she, of course, she's like, well, thanks for calling my job pedantic and boring.
yeah, that was a funny show. And I see Aaron. So hello, Aaron. It's good to see you. Very cool. Do 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 do. All right. So let me get the next poem. And all right. The next poem we have up is The Twain Be But One by M. Lee Dickinson. And go ahead, please, Robbie, and give that a read.
Okay. So M. Lee Dickinson. I wonder if that's a pun or if that's actually her name, or yeah, Emily Dickinson.
It's his name.
It is his. Okay, well that's a funny. That works out nicely, doesn't it?
It's his all poetry name. It's not his real name, but
Okay.
it's a pun based on Emily Dickinson.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
The twain be but one. Along life's perilous path, I've met too many who've dreamt that when they discover something to be done, that they will have two choices. One, do it. Or two, don't. Indeed, the choices be two, but rather, one, do it. Or, no, two, or you're gonna. And the longer you wait, the more dry the drought between them, the more perilous the precipitation of clouded choice, the more horrendous the hurricane in its wake. Mark these words. To the Nike belong the spoils. So lace up thy mutters and just do it. Two choices there be. And nay but one. Wait, and you'll see. Do, or you're gonna die. End poem. Well, I thought Emperor Palpatine when he was in episode 3, when he just said, when he's pushing Anakin and finally just says, "Do it." I wanted to say it that way, but I was like, no, I better not do that during the poem. That would be a disservice. I don't want to disrespect the poem, but I wanted to mention something about it afterwards. Do it.
There you go. Well, I have to say this is a wonderfully written haiku by Emily Dickinson, and he's another one that wrote to a game played with serious problems. That's what art is. And I like the humor and wordplay in this. It's clever. It's entertaining. I like how, to me, it's expressing the importance of just getting things done. I like that. I thought the reference to Nike's "Just Do It" was very very clever. I like how there's humor to it, but it also shows us the raw reality of, you basically have two choices. Like when you discover that there's a problem to be solved or a task to be done, it's like you either do it or you don't. And whatever you choose, you have to accept the fact that there is going to be consequences for that choice. So, excellent right throughout. But I especially like, mark these words, to the Nike belongs the spoils. So lace up thy mutters and just do it. Excellent right, and very well done.
Yeah, this poem, it really gets my brain going, because this is actually something I've been thinking about a lot. There's a Star Wars, again, specific reference I thought of with Yoda. It says, "Do or do not, there is no try." And I've really taken that to heart, because to me what that says is it's like the idea, and it's something that I come to believe in so much, is when you say to yourself, do something, like don't phrase it like, "Oh, I'll probably do it," or "I should do it." Like, don't you have to say it in a way that's very straightforward, like just saying to yourself, "I'm going to do it," because then it doesn't give your subconscious or your ego wiggle room to be like, "Well, yeah." So and it's really good, I think, to give yourself like that binary sort of state in a way that isn't harsh. You have to kind of use your own judgment where that might actually be harmful, but to give yourself that kind of binary choice so that you can get things done. And And yeah, like philosophically, it's something that I've thought a lot about how that works in the brain and how that works in life, where you're not allowing yourself to, to I was gonna say obfuscate. Boy, I'm talking about a snobby word between two choices. And also, it's tapped into what I've been talking about lately, like with the coin that lands on its edge, where you create another option for yourself because the other two don't suit, and you forget that you have that power to actually create another choice sometimes if you're clever enough. So yeah, definitely gonna leave a written comment on this and mention those things and that. This is a good show today so far for like I've already bookmarked two of the poems for my reading list, so this is going good.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. You know, and that always makes for a good show when you find something that you like to read. Um, all right. And putting the next poem up, which is The Harmonic Rosewood Meadow of Colors by Rosewinter 515. And it goes like this. Snow gently falls across the specially prepared rosewood meadow, settling in soft spirals upon the lantern posts and the bright cones of the ice cream forest. Tonight is the harmonic gathering, a tradition older than the village itself, when colors are allowed to sing. Aramis Erasmus Frog stands at the center of the meadow, baton raised, eyes bright with winter joy. He has no spectacles, for his eyesight is perfect. He sees every hue as though it were a musical note. Around him, four great colored trees rise, blue, red, white, and yellow. Each one glows with a quiet Kandinsky magic, shaped not only by pigment but by feeling. The blue tree hums with calm, a deep river tone that settles the meadow. The red tree pulses with warmth, a heartbeat of courage in the cold. The white tree shines with purity, a soft breath of snow light, and the yellow tree flickers with joy, bright as a lantern carried by a child. Erasmus taps his baton, the colors respond. Blue sends out a low, steady chord like a winter lullaby. Red follows with a warmth rising phrases, bold and bright. White adds a shimmering harmony, delicate as frost on a window pane. Yellow dances above them all, a playful melody that makes the snowflakes brush and sparkle as they fall. Families gather near the trees, tasting the beautiful ice cream flavors inspired by each color. Warm buns and winter burgers scent the air, and hot chocolate steams gently in their hands. Children laugh as the colors swirl overhead, weaving music and light into the cold solstice night. The meadow glows brighter still when the lanterns are lifted for the final verse. For this is the season when Rosewood remembers the coming of Jesus, the baby, who is the light of the world. White softness, yellow brightness, red warms, and blue deepens, all bowing their colors to the holy brightness that entered the world in winter. Erasmus lowers his baton, the colors settle, the meadow sings on. End poem.
Well, I'm gonna have to refamiliarize myself with Erasmus there because that obviously plays a prominent role here, and it's funny how like we do that with the winter, where like technically he was, like, I think according to scripture he was probably born in spring, but we have it in winter because, to my understanding anyways, because we need to have something in the winter to, like, some sort of festival to um bring some light and some joy into the dead of winter. It doesn't matter so much when you live in an area where that winter isn't so brutal, but gosh, when you live in areas like where I am, or just pretty much anywhere in Canada, and maybe lower part or some maybe upper parts of the states, that you want to have something to look forward to. And this had a nice reverence to it, with like, it made me think of like how you see like a single tree, and the single tree has a reference to it, has a symbology. It's always been there, and it represents something or somebody. And in real life, like, sometimes you have trees like that have come to have a place, just because of the way they look and or such. There was one bright, brilliant scarlet red tree. We it was that same brilliant red every year for years and years on end. Unfortunately, someone got into a car accident. I think they were drunk. Maybe they weren't. But and anyways, yeah. So unfortunately, they crashed into the tree, and then obviously there's tragedy in that in and of itself, but also the tree was you know destroyed, and that we didn't get to see the tree growing that brilliant red anymore. But yeah, it's interesting when you see that in real life too, where you have like a singular object or something singular that people are drawn to. There's a one huge piece of jade, and nobody knows how it ended up like in the middle of a pond, and everyone was too. No one was ballsy enough to try to go there and try to get it. And I remember texting a picture of that to someone who lived in Lindsay, and she says, "Get it for me, LOL." So, sorry, no do.
Oh my gosh.
Wouldn't that be something
Oh,
if
that
leeches
is.
attached to me, and I'm like, look at what I got because of you. I had leeches on my legs, and I got God knows what. But here's your emerald. You have fun, choke on it.
Oh, yep. That pretty much seems like the life itself, you know, how things usually go. Um, but I liked this. I liked this because, it seemed like a balance between different beliefs. Like I felt like it was a celebration of nature, a celebration of the winter solstice, but there's also the addition of celebrating the light of Jesus coming into the world. I thought this was a delightful and charming story. Uh, I'm not 100% sure if like if Rose Winter 515 chose the name Aerosmith for the character the frog for a specific reason, or if it's just a name that she likes. But it would be interesting to find out. um I really like how with the colors singing, and it just feels very synesthesis, or the blending of different, you know what I mean, like the colors and hearing put together, the idea of different senses that
Synesthesia.
work simultaneously. Yes, it felt like that. I like the use of color and music, and how it speaks on the joy of life. um I have to admit, that if it was snowing ice cream, I would only go out and get some after the first snow. Once the dogs had a chance to walk around, it'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, don't eat the yellow ice cream. Oh my gosh.
You
But
never want to eat yellow snow. Period. Yeah, yeah. Period.
exactly. You want the
You know,
fresh
you don't
white stuff.
whether it's yellow because of ice cream or yellow. No, you just don't.
You
Just the
don't.
very idea of it is ingrained in us now. That's why I don't want to eat yellow ice cream. It would just remind me of that too much.
Oh my gosh. I like sticking to, things that just seem a little more natural. Like,
Yeah.
there's this, like, I don't know, like chocolate, berry, green tea, ice cream. I mean, there's just so many different flavors that it doesn't feel like you're just eating. It doesn't look like you're eating Play-Doh. I don't like anything that looks like I'm eating neon or Play-Doh.
But we
So,
have a thing here called Persians, and they're like a pastry with pink icing on it, and we were wondering what it's made out of. And I said like pink number 5. It's probably not. It's probably like a cinnamon spread or whatever. But it tastes pretty good. But I was just joking. Yeah, pink number 5, because a lot of times that's what food has become now. It's just a number 5 of some additive, or some color.
right. Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, this is a wonderful celebration of life and light in wintertime by Rose Winter 515, and very well done. All right. Let's see. Did I grab the next poem? That is a good question. Probably not. Nope. But I will go do that. Though I will say now I am actually hungry for ice cream.
That's how it happens in this show, right?
Right? Yep,
We have
exactly. Well, as everyone knows, it is my weakness.
there's a music show I listen to where whenever they have the ambient tracks that have a lot of water in them, everybody jokes that oh no, they're gonna have, this is one of those pee tracks, because now we're gonna listen to this rushing water, trickling water with instrumentation, and everybody's gonna have to go to pee while they're
Oh
listening to the
my
track.
gosh. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ambient music, and they call it pebient.
Oh my gosh. All right. So our next poem up is Caricatures by Captain Kerr. And go ahead, please, Robbie, and give that a read for us.
Oh, all right. Caricatures by Captain Kerr. Caricatures. Blood and sweat are the raw material of humanity, spun by womb silk but hardened by a concrete world. From this grit, the artist emerges, a caricature of porous rock and pliant steel, drunk on brick, mortar, and barren fields. To shape this raw human scrap into a latent form, the metal must yield and the hand must receive. Only then do angles breathe within the flesh, and colors shift as brief temporal curiosities. Yet this breath is captured only to be caged. The viewer walks into the frame, trapped in artificiality. These creative mazes amuse everyone but the mouse. We demand privacy, yet build exhibits. We demand attention for our art, yet lock it away. End poem. Are you there, Pam? I don't hear you right now.
Oh, you know what? I actually am, but I just wanted to finish typing out a
Oh,
question
okay.
before I could get back to the mute button. And there's nothing worse than getting to the end of a sentence and saying, "Okay, do I just stop and not post it because I'm not quite finished?" you know. But great read there, Robbie. I like how just raw and gritty this is. It's definitely hard hitting, and I like how the imagery is, to me, beautiful and brilliant. The lines are powerful. It speaks on the grit of humanity. Is that the grit of humanity is both flesh and spirit. Um, and the thing is, I also like how it speaks to me, anyways, on hiding away your talents, you know, or the idea of people wanting attention, but wanting them for the wrong reason. Like we want attention, but we don't want to do any work for it. We want people to acknowledge our talent, but we don't want to put our talent out there. We want to hide it away. And this is the idea of, just being able to put yourself out there, and realizing that everything takes work. And when it comes to being an artist, when it comes to, whether it's an artist, even, actors fall into this category, poetry falls into this category. Get yourself out there, but understand that there are going to be both ups and downs. And I thought there was great lines throughout, but I especially like, to shape this raw human scrap into a latent form, the metal must yield and the hand must receive. Only then do angles breathe within the flesh and colors shift as brief temporal curiosities. Wonderful lines and very well done.
Yeah, the funny thing is with art, it really does. It sounds like a cliche, but I think it's truer than most people realize. Like how the attitude matters. Um, like I remember one time, one artist who was notorious for being difficult, and I don't know. The more I think about it,
Only
I've had some
one.
years.
I'm pretty sure there's been more than one.
Well, more than one. Yes, I know. But it impacts you differently when it's a friend, right? And you're like, oh, come on, Jimmy, lighten up, Yeah, it's funny, yeah. When it's a friend versus as a general concept, then it's a whole different ball game. But
Oh,
yeah, the
absolutely.
she she was just always kind of prickly in that, and I'll never forget how uh I was at a website for a couple of months or so, and I think like at all poetry here, and late night poets, I've developed a reputation for being like humorous and generally easygoing, right? There I got a feature after like a couple of months or so, and she said, you'd think she'd say, "Oh, congratulations," but she says no. She says, "This guy, I'm here at this poetry site for 5 years, nothing. He's here for 3 months and he gets a spotlight." That's literally what she typed to me. I'm like, what do you do with that, right? And yeah, it's true that artists sometimes they want to have their work recognized, but they don't want to put as much effort as they should to put it out there. And you have, and of course you have to acknowledge that some people will like it, some people won't. And I think especially with social media, it's disconnected people sometimes from certain sorts of effort, because you're not going to the art gallery personally necessarily and putting your work there, or your photography or whatever. And that takes a certain more gumption. And the thing is, yeah, you can flood social media with your stuff, And the paradox of social media is, oh yeah, sure, you reach tons and tons of people, but it's like, I remember hearing an analogy. It's like you're like a smaller. It went something along the lines of you're a smaller fish in a big aquarium, but now with the internet, you're like a tiny fish in an immense aquarium, right? Like there's just sure, you can put your stuff out to thousands of people and all that, but there are thousands and thousands of more than there used to be that you have to compete against because it's so accessible, right? It's a curious paradox of social media.
Oh, absolutely. That is so true. So true. Um, great observations made there, Robbie. All right. Up next, we have Present Accounted by Umar Kanks. And it goes like this. It is tortoiseshell, not the real animal kind, but foul plastic petroleum extruded, warm in my hand, grasped firm between indigo ink-stained index and thumb. I think of you. I write with it daily since you bought it for me in Shelley's Antiques. After I quietly gushed over it when you weren't looking, yet you still saw my heart leap when I opened the box to feel its balance, and then reboxed it after I saw the price. The gold nib replaced twice since you grinning purchased the set, announcing, I expect special thanks later from your other pen, and poet's tongue in my inkwell. The cashier blushed as she made change. More aesthetic than effective, it still scritches and blobs as I scrawl these words in my journal. My bladder is cracked and leaks when overfilled, but I've never found a replacement since you left. It's nearly useless. It's my favorite end poem.
Well, the ending was curious. They like I'm thinking they meant the bladder maybe of the pen, like the or something. It sounds odd, like if it meant literally his bladder, like if he's all of a sudden he's talking about his bladder, right? Um, but yeah, I'm thinking they mean like the well or whatever for the pen, and yeah, there's the nice reflection of the kind of the interactions that you can have in a store, and like when you're like, oh, these flowers that you have are they're almost as lovely as you. Oh, that sort of a thing. And just in general, it's nice to have a poem about and the antique experience. You truly never know what you'll find in an antique store. In that, I have a leather jacket from my 20s. That's 30 years now, which makes me feel a little older. And yeah, I got it at an antique store it's probably been replaced 3 or 4 times now by different businesses. And it was a Danier leather jacket, and it's still going. I've had the pockets replaced. Thankfully, there's a place that does that here, but the yeah, the antique experience is such that even if you don't find what you wanted, or you find anything that's particularly of interest to you, it's really a nice journey. And I think this captured that sort of feeling of the experience very well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have to agree. Great comment there. Yeah, this is interesting. I don't know if it's true to life or like it's a story, but either way, it's wonderfully written. Um, and I'm very amused because especially if it actually is a true story, the idea that he got from his partner a tortoise shell pen at Shelley's Antiques. But I really like the playfulness of what of where was that? Oh yeah. Um, I expect special thanks later from your other pen and poet's tongue in my inkwell. That just was a great part right there. I like when there's playfulness between two people that are in a relationship, but then it does become sad. And I too am not 100% sure if a bladder is a term. I didn't think about that before, but like I'm not sure if it's a term for like an inkwell, or something to do with writing, or if it's a reference to the idea of just how our bodies change as we get older. Um, but there either way, whatever that means, that is something that I'm either going to have to look up or maybe ask the poet, ask Emar Kinks, not Kinks, oh geez, Kanks about. um and now he's
I
going to
made
be
a
like,
slip up. It wasn't as bad, but we've both done slip ups today. I
well,
called
hopefully.
I called the TV character Pam, and you got yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully Mr. Kanks doesn't get offended by my little slip up. But yeah, the ending definitely speaks on the idea of having lost a loved one and holding on to those things that, make us, help us to remember them and the beautiful moments that we spent together. So absolutely an amazing write and very well done. And I should mention also a new name for me. So it's always good to see a new name. I'm glad that he is inspired, and I hope to be reading more of him. And all right. Getting back to late night poets. And I am putting up Berlin 1997 after a fragmented collage by Naomi Sarah. And go ahead and give that a read, please, Robbie.
Yay, a Naomi poem. Yeah, it's nice when someone who's consistent comes back with some work. All right. Berlin doesn't remember in straight lines. It remembers in rusted hinges, a horseshoe with one lucky side missing. And the world und, always and never finished. A wall becomes gravel. Gravel becomes gardens. Gardens become cafes where espresso stains newspapers, still arguing over yesterday. Then bass. Bass. A pulse so deep it rattles loose mortar from memories. A love parade spills through the Tiergarten. Hundreds of thousands stitched together by a single relentless beat. No passports, no checkpoints. Only bodies moving where a wall once decided who could dance and who could not. Blue triangles sliced the sky into pieces small enough for everybody to carry home. A child's toy stares from cardboard. The number 97 leans against splintered wood, already becoming history. Every street corner is a collage. Ticket stubs, factory bolts, club flyers, graffiti, construction dust, postcards addressed to countries that no longer exist. Nothing matches. Everything belongs. I walk through Berlin, my reflection breaking across shop windows like torn paper, where while somewhere another speaker turns the city into one enormous heartbeat. A city rebuilt doesn't erase its cracks, it dances across them. And somewhere between was and will be, between concerts, cardboard, memory, and the sunrise, after the last record ends, Berlin whispers, und, always und. End poem.
Great read there, Robbie. Yeah, I figured you'd enjoy reading Naomi's poem. You know, I wish she could have been here to read it. But still, you did a wonderful job with that. I actually really appreciated and enjoyed this poem. Because I don't remember this celebration. I think I was in a different mindset. It wasn't something I was paying attention to at the time. But I was in German class in high school when the Berlin Wall was brought down. And so I remember that. I remember watching it on TV, and it was something, of course, being in German class that we discussed. She does say in her AN, art by Kurt Schwitters, who I know died in 1948, but I wanted to show how his art inspired me today. In 1997, Berlin was still a city reinventing itself after reunification, and the Love Parade had become one of its defining symbols. That year, more than 750,000 people gathered along the Strasse des 17, Uni in the Tiergarten under the motto, "Let the sun shine in." Techno music echoed through the city as dancers from around the world celebrated freedom, unity, and a new Berlin that was no longer divided. I just thought this had such powerful and captivating lines. I thought it was an amazing write on the years afterwards of the wall coming down, the celebration of love between two people who had watched this wall come, not two people, between people that had watched this wall come down. And to me, that was such an important moment in history, because you think about, I mean, the idea that a country was divided, and suddenly there was this unity between the two parts, or this potential for unity. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that everybody necessarily was going to agree with the idea, but it shows like this celebration of love and freedom and unity. It shows that so many people wanted this. So many people wanted those who were separated to come together. So I thought there were great lines throughout, but I especially like "A child's toy eye stares from cardboard. The number 97 leans against splintered wood, already becoming history. Every street corner is a collage, ticket stubs, factory bolts, club flyers, graffiti, construction dust, postcards addressed to countries that no longer exist. Nothing matches. Everything belongs." Wonderful lines, and very well done by Naomi, Sarah.
Yeah, the bass and that whole vibe there really caught my attention, because I live for that. I've been in places where, I remember when I was younger, being at some concerts where there's one where it just went right through the walls and ended up having like a half-hour conversation with a music buddy there. And I was saying this again, oh, I love it. I love when the bass goes through me. And he's like joking, he's like, calm down, calm down. But this whole thing had a certain conversational feel to it. And it's something that Naomi has pretty consistently. It's interesting. It's like it's conversational, or it's almost like that slice of life kind of a thing. Like it's really, she really zeroes in on an atmosphere in a single moment, and she's really good at conveying it, especially like with shorter phrases and shorter words, and it kind of makes it feel more like a memory, because I think that's what people tend to have memories like. They don't think in these big sentences, like 15 lines long or whatever. But yeah, they have like these singular thoughts, like, oh yeah, I remember when blah 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 blah. And so yeah, she does a good job with capturing that sort of feel. And yeah, it was fun to read this, both as a historical look and for what are some of the things that it reminded me of, because I remember that with great fondness, the times when I had been at those clubs and felt the beat.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Great comment there, Robbie. Yeah, Aaron says that wall effectively exiled generations of family that never wanted to be separated in such a way. And yes, absolutely, that is so true. Oh, I'm I'm glad he brought that point up. Um, all right. So now that we are done with our carryovers, I'm going to go into talking a little bit about Hedda Stern, and just need to get to the right page and get to the right link. All right, so Hedda Stern, whose artwork I thought made for wonderful inspiration um, for break on through. She was born Hedwig Lindenberg, and that might actually be Hedwig. I'm not 100% sure. August 4th, 1910, in Bucharest, Romania. And she died April 8th, 2011, at age 100 in New York City, United States. She was an active member of the New York School of Painters. Her work the movement she's connected with is surrealism and abstract expressionism. And as a young child, Stern and her brother were educated in music and languages. In addition to Romanian, Stern was taught to read German, French, and English. She would recall texts, the importance of German philosophy texts, and art history books in her development as an artist. Let's see if it says anything else about her that might be interesting. Of course, I tend to skip over quite a bit. And, so anybody who wants to really know more than what I say, I would very much, recommend looking up Hedda Stern and reading about her and taking a look at more of her artwork. And in addition to her early work in the studio of Frederick Stork, Stern was one of several young artists in Bucharest working in the studio of Dada co-founder and surrealist painter Marcel Janco, who had returned to Bucharest from Switzerland and France in 1921. Stern became an active member of Bucharest's thriving avant-garde communities of writers and artists. So she definitely, to me, has some very wonderful, surreal and abstract artwork that really sparks the creativity within the mind. So there's a little bit about her, and now I'm gonna get back to where I need to be. All right. Do, 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 do. All right, so I am now going to go ahead and bring Arent on, and then put up his poem to be read. And hello, Arent. How's it going?
No, not too bad. Yeah, I've been all over the shop today. Up
Oh
and
yeah,
down, back
yeah,
and
I
forth into
understand.
town and back.
Oh my goodness. Well, I hope you get some much needed rest and things get better for you.
Yeah, no,
And
I've just been
I see.
ferrying people to appointments and yeah, Easter school and all that.
Absolutely. And I see Cole Doyle has popped in to listen. So hello, Cole. It's good to have you listening in. Good to see you. And all right. So I have put up your right testament, and go ahead and give that a read for us, please.
Testament by Errant Panther. Crisp is the night where shadows crawl, emerging from half-worn pages, still tangled in the stories, buried deep in their collective consciousness. Emotions swirl and tango, echoing the plot from which they were derived, turning sighs into tears as easily as characters wilt and rise from the page. Eyes now dry and stinging from the acid of those same tears, fading into the edges of paper as a mark of the burn from the shared experience of pain. And as the sun rises to greet the stirrings of a new day, these stains of midnight readings will stand as testament to the underlying connections of the stories we share. End poem.
Wonderful read and write, Errant. I'm very glad that you were inspired. And Robbie, your thoughts?
I like generally the idea of testament of the idea of kind of taking a moment to really look at both yourself and what's outside of you, and this kind of gives me that slowed down feeling because like how it begins. Crisp is the night where shadows crawl, emerging from half-worn pages. I think of somebody uh you know going out at night to take a walk, and just going out when things are calm. Like I noticed when it's night here, there's like a kind of almost a rush sound in the air, and it's like something you hear only then because everything else is still. And as someone who digs Carl Jung, I loved the mention of buried deep in their collective consciousness. And then right after that, it says emotions swirl and tango, echoing the plot from which they were derived. So I like how it continues that theme of how there's all these emotions under the surface, and that's the thing. Even though they're under the surface, they're doing things. They're active, not passive. And like and I guess, yeah, it externalizes afterwards, turning sighs into tears as easily characters wilt and rise from the page. And again, like there's a lot of transformation here from passive, perhaps, uh, maybe that's not quite the word, to active. The sighs and tears turn into the characters, and so yeah, I enjoyed that kind of sort of transformative thing of thought to not even action, but more manifestation. I think especially is that kind of that Jungian feel to its manifestation as opposed to action. So yeah, I enjoyed that whole overall feel and the way it was expressed.
Great comment there, Robbie. Um, yeah, I like the one word title testament. I think it says so much. This is such great inspiration taken from the artwork. I was just absolutely fascinated by this artwork and how it was both the rising or setting sun and an eye, like it felt like a single eye, like the eye of the mind rising. This to me has just these really thoughtful lines, amazing imagery and metaphors. I like how it speaks on shared experience. I like how it speaks on the idea of the connection that happens between people as as the experiences are shared, but also as history and traditions are shared through stories. um, and honestly, there are just so many great lines throughout. I could just reread the entire poem, but I will say, I out of all of the lines, it was definitely the second and third stanzas that really hit me the hardest and left the most imprint within my mind. So excellent, right, and very well done. And Aaron, did you want to say anything about your poem?
Yeah, well, there was a little bit with that image that I saw. I mean, minus the eyeball part. The top part of that abstract image looked like the outline of an eye, at least. But to me, I saw a stack of books that was on the side, and like that had the stains on the edge of the pages, like they'd either been well thumbed through or they've been cried over from the emotions within and stuff like that. And they've left those long stains or long held stains on the edge there, and yeah, as they sit there on the stack and leave that as a reflection kind of thing of that they've been
Oh,
read, they've
wow.
been enjoyed.
Yeah, well, I hadn't even thought of the stack of books. So that is really cool. That's one of the great things about abstract and surreal art, especially abstract art, is how it can have, your different people have different perspectives of what it shows. So I like that. Very cool. Well, thank you as always for calling in to read, and you know how it works. You're always welcome to stay, but we understand if you have to go and get things done.
Yeah. Thank you for calling me up.
I get that. I get that. All right. So up next, we have Discarded by Yorkie Buff. They have become obsolete. No one saves money or jewels in a bank vault, stacked up to the rafter roof in rows, layers of metal boxes, sporting medals, clock faces, or other forgotten treasures are abandoned. This time, that place forgot from another era when crime ruled and clicks of tumblers opening fell on thieves' ears, kneeling before saves, cobwebs thick as a man's arm festoon the serried rows, and the odd letter stuck on a door seems to be instructions in the form of legal wills. The room smells metallic with rust, and somewhere a trap drips slowly and steadily between the spider webs grown dusty with bored neglect. This is an investment time capsule, long abandoned, along with bulls and bears on the stock exchange floor when memories shift and rattle, when a wind sweeps under the roller doors with a bored, gusty sigh. End poem.
Well, this is a unique poem. I don't usually see or hear one where we're talking about like they have like the talk about the stock market at any point. Bull and bears on the stock exchange floor. I thought that was curious too, where memories shift and rattle when a wind sweeps under the roller doors with a bored, gusty sigh. It makes it sound like a very pedantic and pedestrian sort of process. And then you have like the spider webs grown dusty. I always get tongue tied the closer I get to like midnight and all that with these shows. I start to lose my ability to speak. Um, yeah, and the whole poem has like that feeling of abandoned or discarded, or perhaps where something is so mundane and everyday that it feels like something with cobwebs in that, because it's just there's no real effort in it. Everything's just done so on autopilot. I think it's actually probably more like an abandoned place sort of idea, or an abandoned state of mind, but it has that other element too. And yeah, it came out in a very unique way, like a lot of unique images for that that I haven't seen with that before. This time, that place forgot from another era where crime ruled and clicks of tumblers open fell on thieves' ears. It almost sounds like it's an abandoned bank, really. Yeah, an abandoned bank, an abandoned safe. That's that sort of a thing. And it's interesting when you look from a different time and how that all worked. Like, it would have like a hotline that would be a landline, and it would have like different kinds of tumblers instead of like electronic locks and all that. But the funny thing is that back in that day, it was like, oh my god, look at this, we have a landline. Woof, high tech.
Right? Oh, exactly. Well said there, Robbie. Yeah, I really like how, to me, she takes a look at a lost time period. It almost seems like it's speaking on the time period before we had in the United States the stock market crash, um, that in the 1920s. Of course, I'm looking now to see where Yorkie Buff is from. I'm not 100% sure. Um, but it definitely feels like the loss of a time period where people were very much focused on money. The other thing I think of is what they call that, I want to say, golden era. Um, where it was all about, putting on, the the show, so that, look how much money I have. Of course, it wasn't that way for everybody, not for the poor people, but the rich people. It was all about showing off. Um, but if nothing else, even if it's not an exact time period, to me, which, by the way, this just has wonderful imagery and metaphors. To me, it definitely speaks on transition, on the idea of people who are so consumed by money and riches that eventually it just all falls apart. Eventually it's, they become just bored with a life that's offering no true fulfillment. Um, and wonderful lines throughout. But I especially like the imagery of cobwebs thick as a man's arm festoon the serried rows, and the odd letter stuck on a door seems to be instructions in the form of legal wills. And then those end lines are great too. Um, uh, Memories shift and rattle when a wind sweeps under the roller doors with a bored, gusty sigh. Wonderful lines and very well done by Yorkie Buff. All right. Gonna grab the next poem and put that up. Doo-doo. All right, we have Run by Naomi Sarah. And go ahead, please, Robbie, and give that a read.
All right. Oh, too many tabs. Oh my God, yes, too many tabs. I'm getting lost. Run. The wardrobe is still open, not wide enough for certainty, not narrow enough to call it closed. Just a dark mouth between one blue wall and another, gaping at us as if Narnia were still just out of reach. We sit beneath impossible furniture, tables floating overhead, chairs climbing walls, our lives suspended by invisible strings. Everyone is blue here. Blue in the face, blue in the silence, blue from breathing the same small room for years. Someone whispers, rub-a-dub. Rub-a-dub-dub. The genie in the bottle has grown tired of granting wishes. He only leans toward the glass and whispers back, you already know. Across the room, a flying carpet beckons, come, come, come. It trembles beneath the weight of all the places we were supposed to go. Someone hums, come catch a falling star, and for 1 second we look up. Just one. Long enough to see the ceiling isn't a ceiling, but a sky pretending to be one. Then the briefcase coughs. The clock clears its throat. 9 o'clock, 5 o'clock, tomorrow, again. Someone straightens the collar and says, dream on. As though dreaming were the same thing as living. As though imagination were a harmless little animal we could keep in a cage. But I can hear the carpet breathing. I can hear the wardrobe calling my name. I can hear somewhere beyond this room a world with dirt beneath its feet. Wind in its hair. Rain that hasn't been scheduled. So, drop the briefcase. Let the papers scatter like startled birds. Leave the coffee cooling on the table. Let the clock keep punching its little holes through the hours. Narnia is not coming for us. The genie isn't getting out. The falling star will not fall twice. There is no magical train arriving to rescue the obedient. There is only this, the open wardrobe, the trembling carpet, the impossible blue, and your hand already reaching for the door. Start living, or become another piece of furniture, floating beautifully out inside the ordinary. Dream on, but dream with your eyes open. And when the blue begins to suffocate you, run. End poem.
Great read there, Robbie, and another amazing write by Naomi Sarah. We had her twice on the show because it was one of the carryovers for the Kurt Schwitters contest, and she also wrote for the artwork of Hedda Stern. And I find that quite a few people in this contest were drawn to this particular artwork. And I think it's because of the heavy use of blue and because of also the use of disproportionate measurements, like the people looking so very small. I thought for Naomi's right, first of all, that the addition to mentioning Narnia because of the wardrobe that the children go through to go into Narnia, I thought was just a great choice. Um, and I like how this speaks on the idea of people who just sit around, being blue. Like it feels like the repetition of blue in her right, blue in the face, blue in the silence, blue from breathing the same small room for years, feels like the idea of dealing with depression. And then I like her use of spacing, and when repetition with come, 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 it trembles beneath the weight of all the places we were supposed to go. Someone hums, catch a falling star, and for 1 second we look up, just one, long enough to see the calling isn't a ceiling but a sky pretending to be one. And I like how this right in the second part of it, and it's probably the third part too, really speaks on the idea of don't just sit around, find a way to chase your dreams, find a way to truly live your life and get away from all this blue that is just completely suffocating you, not allowing you to be the potential that you're meant to be. So just absolutely an amazing write by Naomi, and very well done.
Yeah, this touches again on what I've been talking about tonight with making your own destiny. And the funny thing is, a lot of times people say, "Well, I tried to, but I couldn't," or I really want to, but like it just isn't in me. And if it can be frustrating when somebody says, "Well, I tried," but you see that they made sort of a more minimal effort. It can sound sorry, my throat got dry all of a sudden. It can sound harsh to say it that way, but there are times when somebody, they made an effort to say they made an effort, or like there's some part of them got too scared and and stopped. And so it isn't necessarily true that you made your own truest effort. I'm very careful in qualifying that, because sometimes somebody really does come across something that's like an ontological shock, and it takes a while for them to bounce back. But there are times where someone really doesn't make the fullest effort, and you really do have to. And I like the ending was very impactful. When the blue begins to suffocate, you run. And especially with the way it suffocates, that really gives it a sense of urgency. There's a lot in this poem that I feel gives a sense of urgency with like come on, come on, come on, and other little parts there. And it's interesting the way it manifests, or it talks about the wishful thinking sort of thing. The genie isn't going to come out. The falling star will not fall twice. I thought that was really interesting, because it's saying having an unrealistic wish or hope. And then you say, well, how could you be disappointed in that if it was completely unrealistic in the first place?
That is a good question asked. I like how you mentioned the feeling of urgency within the poem, and so excellent comment there. All right. So up next, we have Wrong Wish by Olka F. And he was nice enough to supply us with a SoundCloud. So let me go ahead and go grab that. Here we go.
should we ask for next, Mom? Not sure. What about new frames for our lives? Well, sounds catchy, right, honey? Yes, I believe this would do. However, slice of doubt bothers me. What doubts, my dear? You know, having those piled up glass cabinets? I don't think it was sane enough, you know? Oh, Daddy, you're always such a fun spoil. Nah, no need to fuzzy buzz about it like that. No, they're right, my love, actually, I am. We didn't mean to. We apologize, Dad. Please, forgive us! I wonder, where are the kids? Did you see them lately? Gosh, she's doing it again. It's the third time this week. My love, you perfectly know, of course, that WEHAVENOKIDS. And for God's sake, please, never joke like that to me. Ever again, okay? What exactly is happening? Where's Mom? Dad, where are you? I'm so scared, please. Please, can we go back now? Horizontally. Yes, that would be this lovely now. I'm ready for my late supper. Well-deserved one, I believe.
Oh, that is awesome. Great choice of music for this right. Thank you very much, Olka F, for the recording. Greatly appreciated. And just a reminder, everyone, if you're unable to call in, the next best thing is make a record home, because then we get to hear your poetry in your voice or how you would like it to be heard. And Robbie, your thoughts on this right?
It had that, I've heard a couple of times where it's like spoken word crossed with music, because it has that a storytelling more sort of a voice, but it's got the music, and it's, you know, like the structure is a little bit more spoken word than purely poetic, but it's still poetry, of course. And I thought that the musical style that they chose accompanied well the type of story that they had, because it's very much sort of, it has like a scatter shot sort of a feel of I almost think like when I've read some of the comics that I've read recently, where, you know, there's like there's 3 or 4 different kinds of things happening all at once in terms of like storylines and people's interactions, right? And it has like a very casual thing here, like, nah, no need to fuzzy buzz about. I love that part. No need to fuzzy buzz about it, like that. No, they're right, my love. And it had that, yeah, that casualness with that almost like bebop sort of uh feel to it. It really gave the feel of a frantic and kind of frenetic sort of situation going on, and it sounded like a lot of disputes in that, and that's how a lot of times the disputes go, right? And at the end, the voice bored and splashed also just sort of, and it has all the capitalization. Let's see, where was I? Oh, I know. Gotcha. Oh yeah, gotcha. 666 horizontally. That's interesting. This is definitely got a lot of. I'll use another fancy word like idioms almost that that are really interesting, and I'm gonna save this for later because I want to kind of dig into all the neat little images and that they used.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is definitely one of those rights that are worth digging into more than once. I love his use of wordplay and the music choice. Like it was like the words were more spoken with the like kind of almost jazzy type music. Did feel like it created a very spoken word atmosphere. I like the back and forth in this. I like the chaotic feel. I could be wrong on this, but to me, this poem spoke on the idea of being in a relationship with someone who is sadly dealing with mental health issues like schizophrenia. um there's definitely this sense of chaos, but it feels like amongst the chaos the calm comes in. Amongst the distortion, all of a sudden there's this sense of everything just becoming more focused, but still, like, I feel like the chaos itself never lets up. It's always about a mind that is completely just gripped by this sense of just trying to think of another word to use because I don't want to use the word chaos or chaotic again. But it feels like a mind that is running too fast in too many directions and trying to separate um, fiction, reality from fiction, and great lines throughout, all the way through. But I did especially like the second and third stanzas. Excellent, right? Great connection to the artwork and very well done by Olka F. And all right, got the next poem up, get it posted in YouTube. And we have I by Weaver of Dreams. And she was nice enough to supply us with a recording. So here we go.
In the depths of the mind, turbulence awakes. While the self emerges, the I within it breaks. Let barren thoughts cascade, showering down, choking life's pure essence, leaving arid ground. A whisper of utter chaos, swirling in the breeze, unleashing turmoil, disturbing calm inner seas. For within this tempest, the ego will take flight, curtailing its existence, veiling truths from sight. But let us not falter, yield not unto dark despair. Still amidst the chaos, hope can linger in the air. In the stillness beyond time, where clarity resides, we will find liberation, where the soul safely hides. Garner the wild winds, allow them to howl and soar. Breaking down illusions, they shatter and then roar. From the ashes of ego, vital new life is seen to rise, unburdened by secrets, to reach beyond the skies.
Great reading right there, Weaver. Uh, Thank you for the SoundCloud. It is greatly appreciated. Wonderful rhyming couplets. The artwork she wrote too is actually a self-portrait done by Hedda Stern. And I think a poem titled I, a poem about the self and the ego, is just great inspiration taken from a self portrait. And I like how, to me, this speaks on the idea of a self emerging and the idea of finding liberation. But sometimes in that process, what ends up happening is you fall into ruins. The ego becomes your destruction, and basically you have to learn how to push that ego down, to burn it with your spirit, and just really rise into a new life where it isn't all about your ego controlling you, but rather seeing things more clearly. And I thought there were great lines throughout, but I did especially like those last four couplets. Nicely written and very well done by Weaver of Dreams. And your thoughts, Robbie?
I appreciate the focus on ego and what it can do. And the funny thing is, ego is a very uh, particular word because we have a sense of self that navigates the world, and that's a certain sort of ego. It's just it's just your self identity. But then, of course, there's the ego that we usually think of, where we think that we're the center of the universe, and it's so true that to me, ego, even more than people realize, the uh, it's the thing that messes us up. There's so many times I've seen where somebody acts in a way that goes against them, or that I find distasteful, and so often it comes from ego. And I like that it's the ashes of ego where new life is seen to rise, because it's not like you completely get rid of your ego. Well, you kind of, in a way, I guess you do, but you work with it to redirect the energies of your sense. Like, instead of having an overinflated sense of self, you work towards uh an integrated sense of self, and all the vitality and energy that comes into like selfish means and all that. You redirect that energy to something else. So that's kind of what the ashes is for me. And there's a lot of that sort of gathering of energy. uh I just had it. I thought I saw the word gather here, but yeah, it's like a very much a process, and it's like where it feels like it's where you're collecting your old self and getting rid of it, and then collecting the new self, and just very much a feeling of gathering together in terms of of the old and new.
I like that. I like that. Really great observations. All right. I'm going to put up most likely our last poem for the night. It probably, yeah, I'm sure it will be. And then we will have a few carryovers for the next break on through, or wherever the rights are needed. I'll let people know. Um, and it is Irrefutable, Irascible Sun by Eric Svensson. And he also was nice enough to supply us with a SoundCloud. So here we go.
Irrefutable, irascible sun. Views converge, separate. Two eyes polarize to create a landscape. Eye blink stack multiple impressions. Impact of curvature. Peripheral vision tends to bend the edges, not unlike art critics bent on categorizing artists. Got to find a niche pigeonhole to frame you with, darling. Oh, you irrefutable, irascible current son of perdition. The eye becomes a landscape looking back at the viewer. Multiple eye blinks quicken swift synapses. Must identify form and shape, a palatable meaning, motive. Subconscious becomes grainy, gritty quicksand, centrifugal pull downwards, silted layers of self, saturated by experience, until we become dust to dust, and irrefutable, irascible. Eyes may look out, evoke a sensory seance, multiple vistas stacked by swift eye blinks, warm tonal colors ground the iris, rings around Saturn interject the circumspect peace, earthen bound mound of Venus, fecund font of all creative impetus, until an artist becomes dust to dust. Show, don't tell, as paintings do. Quieten monkey mind chatterbox. Allow orchestral moves within regal heart chambers. Solar plexus stargate shutters wide open. Forget shape, form, and norm. Evocative, provocative. The sudden pull to be out in nature. Bare feet on grainy, gritty sand. Drift down into selfless sediment as the horizon devours our current, irrefutable, irascible sun. End poem.
Wonderful read and write, Eric. Thank you for the SoundCloud. It is very much appreciated. He does put a quote by Hedda Stern in his AN, which is, I am known more for that darn photo than for 80 years of work. If I had an ego, it would bother me. Plus, she said, it is a lie. Why? I was not an abstract expressionist, nor was I an irascible. Um, I'll have to look more into that because, obviously she did not consider herself an abstract expressionist, and yet there was a connection with that style of artwork. And I also have to find out which photo that is, because I'm very intrigued by not only the poem but also the AN. Robbie, your thoughts?
Oh, he's such an irascible fellow, isn't that Eric Svensson? I love it. He just has so
yes,
much fun with his
definitely.
poetry. Yeah, the best type of irascible. And I like how I never noticed that before, but now it says end poem. He always says end poem. I love the way he says it, and
I
it's
love
actually
that. That is so great.
yeah, and it's actually written in his poem, end poem. And now I can't believe I never noticed that before, but it's actually in the posts. But anyways, it's a nice look at artistic process and the mind and mindfulness. And I love the quieten monkey mind chatterbox. That's a Buddhist term, the monkey mind. So it was cool to see that. Cool to see that someone knew that term, and it reminded me of a Polish saying that I didn't know, even though I'm Polish, till so many years, like till recently, and it reminds me again of how I I keep wanting to. I have to do it finally to connect more to my Polish roots. But anyways, it says, "Not my circus, not my monkeys." I love that. If it's not truly my problem, or it shouldn't be my problem, I'm not going to take it on. uh, and yeah, it's nice to see the way he looks at your identity with how it is in the world, and just like he has like these artistic, views in that, or these artistic sort of illusions, uh and it's right at the beginning. Views converge, separate, two eyes polarize to create a landscape. It's like meticulous, but in such an artistic way of describing how you're looking at a painting. Then eye blinks, stack multiple impressions. I think about like when you take photography and you do stacks of pictures, like in astrophotography, to get an image. So it's got all these processes that can be like, they're like technical, but they're said in a very artistic sort of way. And that's something that I used to do a lot in poetry. I used to be too much on the nose. So I appreciate when I see someone do that, and they are doing it well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have to agree. Wonderful comment there, Robbie. Um, I thought this was definitely an amazing write and great take on the chosen prompt. Um, I like how it speaks on the idea to me of not putting artists, into a box, allowing a sense of freedom to come through and be expressed through their artwork. And, I also like how it speaks on a connection with nature, especially in those end lines: evocative, provocative, the sun pulled to be out in nature, bare feet on grainy, gritty sand, drift down into selfless sediment as the horizon devours our current, irrefutable, irascible sun. There's this, to me, it's like creating is such an important part of life. I come from a very creative family on my mother's side. It was either artwork or, not too many people wrote poetry like I did, but still there was always this creativity and it shared. And, to me, it's such an important part of life, but you can't spend your whole life just sitting in front of, the tablet or whatever you write on now. And you got to get out there and experience, because when you get out there, when you connect with nature, when you connect with um, perhaps even other people, you expand your thinking and you don't put yourself in a box of who you are as far as, your poetry or your artwork. And, if other people think you need to be there, they need to label you. That's their problem, not yours. You know that your thinking can go beyond just, a constant circle of the same thing over and over again. um, I thought this was an amazing write that not only takes inspiration from the artwork but also from Hedda Stern herself. So wonderful write by Eric Svensson, and very well done. And let us see, who are we looking at for carryovers? We have um, Omega AM. We have Joe Braz, John Poem, let's see, fairly new, Pedro Aragao, and Lena 61 and Xanthos Baslios will be our carryovers. Great show tonight. Thank you, Robbie, for co-hosting with me. Thank you to Aaron and Cole for hanging on the board. Thank you to everyone who wrote for the show. is listening now or will be listening later, we truly appreciate you all. Please make sure to check out the contests and topic boards put up by Late Night Poets, host and hostesses, because you're sure to find something to inspire. And also join us Friday tonight or tomorrow, whatever your time zone is, for the open poetry show, Fill My Eyes and IntimidusRex with Poetry. And yeah, like, and of course, there's 1 to 2 shows per night, that offers up a variety of topics in poetry. So have a good night, everyone, and have a good night, Robbie.
Good night, Pam. Good night, everyone.